This morning, we're learning that a new report reveals the average cost of infant care now exceeds in-state college tuition in 41 states. In many communities across the country, parents are now having to pay more for childcare than they do for mortgage or even rent. Natalie Foster is the president of the Economic Security Project, joining us this morning here on Live Impact News to discuss this new report and explore some solutions as many families need them. Natalie.
Hi, great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having and making the time to talk to us about this important subject. How severe is childcare affordability? How has this crisis become this way?
Childcare affordability in the United States is a broken system. It is unaffordable. We know that in 41 states, the cost of childcare has outpaced the cost of in-state tuition, and it is no different in North Carolina. In fact, it's worse. Infant care in North Carolina costs 57% more per year than in-state tuition for a four-year college. Right? 57% more. And we also know that a minimum wage worker in North Carolina, which is what so many caregivers are paid, would need to work full time for 40 weeks. So from January to October, just to pay for childcare for one infant. So childcare providers can't afford to make ends meet, and families can't afford the care. That is a broken system.
We're talking about child care deserts then. What does this look like in practice, and how does it affect working families and parents?
Yeah, we know it's really dire for working families. They often have to make the choice between going to work after the birth of a child or dropping out of the workforce altogether. And the consequences of that ripple through the United States economy as workers, particularly women, drop out of the workforce. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be this way. We know that we can invest in affordable, high quality, and universal public child care in this country. And that's what the report is laying out after talking to families over the past year all over the country.
Yeah, so your report says framing it as an economic necessity. Explain that connection.
Yeah, just like roads and bridges are needed to get to work, childcare is needed for parents to go back to work. It's part of the infrastructure in the United States, and we need to invest in it like infrastructure in the US.
What are the root causes of these skyrocketing costs?
The causes are a broken system and a broken market that has never had federal investment. We've told families, look, you have to figure this out on your own, sort it out by yourself. But when every family has the problem, you know it's a structural problem that needs to be fixed. And we're starting to see solutions emerge. States like New Mexico have made it a right for every child to have early childhood in the state. They've figured out a model, and that's the kind of thing we can take and scale across the country. We just have to believe it's possible and have the political will to get there.
So, what does that look like then? How does it work?
Well, just like a public education system, right? Where every child who wants it has a seat in a school in the United States, we can do the same thing for early childhood. Every child who wants it can have a seat in a child care provider system, one that is affordable, one that is available to everyone, regardless of their race, their religion, their zip code, and one that is public and exists in every city in this country. That is doable, just like our education system.
And so it sounds like a significant public investment, right? How do you make the case for this kind of spending, and what do you see as the obstacles?
Yeah. I mean, the truth is, we can't afford not to do it. At the rate now, with skyrocketing childcare costs, costing more than college tuition, families paying more on childcare than rent or mortgage, it is time something changes. And the cost to the US economy of having parents drop out of the workforce, unable to pay for childcare, is significant. So we have to invest in it. And we know how to do it. The model is here. It's here in the report.
All right. How can families advocate for change in their communities? Because that's where it starts, right? Right at home.
That's exactly right. That's where it starts. I think the most important thing families can do is tell their own story of how hard it is to afford childcare, and childcare providers telling their story of how hard it is to make ends meet on low wages. It's important we tell those stories and we tell them to elected officials. And you can go to economicsecurityproject.org for more information.
All right, Natalie Foster, thank you for joining us this morning. An important conversation that needs to be had. So thank you for bringing the attention to that. Increasing childcare costs, it's tough.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jane.
Of course.